And welcome to another episode of the Body and Mind Podcast. As always, I am your host, The Mind, and with me is my co-host, The Body.
Pleasure to be back again this week.
Yes, indeed, and we're back ready to rage all over the world of sports with our own unique brand of loving analysis.
And loving rage.
Rage is all the rage. Today we'll be raging on a variety of topics, including our weekly review of the Football League down south. We'll be looking at some of the highlights and lowlights of Week 10, and even previewing some previewing teams' chances in the upcoming weeks. We'll also be talking to the NBA because we've had some big off-season moves going on, and plus the NBA draft just took place. So we'll be looking at that. So in-depth analysis on all of that. And of course, we'll end off our show after that with our Epic and Suck. As always, the one topic that we thought was pretty epic over the last week or so, and the one thing we thought sucked over that same time period. So, let's not delay any longer, and let's get into our first topic. And that's the NFL. Boom! Ba-da-ba-da-ba! Ba-da-ba-da-ba!
Oh, yeah. As usual, some interesting stuff to cover this week.
Yeah, so the first topic that tickled your fancy was Arizona and Buffalo, and a certain prayer that was given during that game.
Yeah, the Hail Mary pass to DeAndre Hopkins, the talk of the week in the NFL. Not much more you can say to describe this play, and I'm sure everyone's seen it. If you haven't seen it,
what the hell is wrong with you?
Pretty much, yeah. What rock have you been under?
Well,
if you haven't seen it, chances are you're probably listening to a sports show.
Yeah, it's like where have you been? Like, you can't go outside, you can't shop, you can't be at an actual sporting event. Like, what are you doing?
Exactly. So the thing that impressed me about this was Hopkins going up in traffic with three people and coming down with the football, which was absolutely impressive. I still don't understand how on a Hail Mary, well, I finally understood earlier tonight when I caught a bit of an interview about the play. I didn't understand how during a Hail Mary pass there's only one guy in the end zone. But apparently when Kyle Murray lined up to the play, there were three guys at the top of the screen on his right, one guy at the left, which had been on the bottom of the screen, which you watch on TV. Hopkins was the guy on the left by himself. So you figure he's going to go right to the three guys in the Hail Mary. As it turns out, he ended up rolling left, and once he rolled left, Hopkins was his alternative. And that alternative came down and beat three guys in the end zone on a jump ball for a touchdown. He mods a quarter of the Buffalo Bills defense. For fun, too, you might as well throw Bill O'Brien in there for just trading him in the offseason, too, and had him moved to Bill O'Brien on the jump, too.
Yeah, if Arizona goes on to, win the Super Bowl, they should at least have the decency to put like a small plaque or something somewhere near the championship statue to commemorate O'Brien's contribution.
Well, even if they win the division, like on the division banner, like have a picture of Bill O'Brien in the corner.
Yeah, or just have his initials there, BO.
BO, don't even for the B at the end. For Bob, just BO.
Just BO. I'm sure Houston fans are probably thinking there's a lot of BO there.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some recent talk of Kyler Murray for MVP, but I'm not even sure if he's the MVP of his team because I think that's Bill O'Brien.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, he could not have done them a bigger favor.
No, he couldn't have.
He's a better GM than the current Cardinal GM.
well, better GM for the Cardinals than the current Cardinal GM.
Oh, absolutely.
Which was unfortunate for O'Brien because he was working for Houston at the time.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure when that trade came across his desk, with DeAndre Hopkins on it, like Cardinals, I have to imagine that's probably one of those where he thought he was being punked, right?
Yeah.
He was like, this can't be right. This must be a joke. And I'm sure he probably ran it by all of his people because it was freaking him out. They're probably all like, well, I don't know, call him back, see if he's serious.
Not April Fool's Day. What's going on there?
That's the thing, and they probably had to fight to keep from letting him know that this was an obviously bad one-sided trade, and had to somehow make it sound like they were. Let's get back to you there, Bill.
Yeah, I'll never understand Bill O'Brien's rationale for that deal.
I mean, obviously, he's trying to shake up the team and thought that, trading away like a monumental giant star like this would, I guess, A, change just the culture and the chemistry of the team, and B, maybe give everybody a collective wake-up call.
Mm-hmm.
But, oh boy, that did not work.
Well, did that ever just backfire?
Yep. That was, that goes back to way back in the NHL when then GM of the Calgary Flames, Doug Risebrough, thought it'd be a good idea to trade away Doug Gilmour for a bag of magic beans.
Yes.
And Toronto said, thank you very much. And Doug Gilmour became a 100-point scorer for them and made them Stanley Cup contenders for many years.
Mm-hmm.
And Calgary basically sunk like the Titanic, taking on water every year. And Doug Risebrough never again made another trade.
No.
When he became the GM of the Wild, I don't think they ever made a single trade.
Well, after that, I wouldn't know why the Wild picked him in a GM, but
he was so overly cautious. He was terrified of making another move.
he was. Well, I would have been too if I made a move like that. I mean, that trade, this just turned them at least from the contenders at the time. It was really the start of kind of the downfall of the Flames.
Well, it was, because literally, like, Doug Gilmour at the time was a A-plus level talent in the league, like elite level, franchise level player, and all the guys they got back, and I think there was like about 5 guys they got in return for him. None of them were even close to that. Like, the best they got were like, journeymen, plumbers, third line guys.
The key piece was supposed to be one-time 50 goal scorer Gary Beeman. He never came close to that again.
Yes, the important phrase there is one time.
Yes.
He did that one time, never got near that before, never got near again.
Nope. So the DeAndre Hopkins deal right up there with that.
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, again, another elite level, franchise level player, and Houston got nobody anywhere near that talent level back.
No.
So, yeah.
The best thing might have been is eventually Bill O'Brien with the door. They just screwed up their entire year this year.
Yeah, I mean, they're on their way to, getting a pretty nice draft pick.
Yeah.
I mean, they're currently 2-7, the Texans.
They are.
So, they should have a pretty decent defensive player that they can choose nice and early.
They certainly need help on defense. They also need help on offensive line to keep you watching a lot.
That's the thing. So, so those two positions, I mean, those are the two most highly sought after positions, as defense and O-line early in the draft. So at least they'll be poised to at least make a splash there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, crazy. But yeah, once again, DeAndre Hopkins has hollow bones.
Yes, and great odds.
Another game that tickled our fancy was the certain team from Boston. Apparently they're not dead yet.
They upset the Ravens this weekend. Sunday Night Football. Got three takeaways from this. One, the Patriots aren't dead yet. Two, the Ravens are not the same as last year. And number three, man, is that upset ever underrated? It's almost like no one's talking about that after the Hopkins Hail Mary catch this weekend. Last weekend.
That's very true, because I literally have heard, I've heard very little of that win. It was literally just that, just like, oh, Patrons upset Baltimore. Well, what happened to Baltimore? What's going on with them? And like people were just
7-point underdog.
Yeah, like people were basically just shooting down Baltimore for losing to New England and not really giving the Patriots much credit for winning the game.
No, I would agree with that. Baltimore's offense, I think, has struggled this year compared to last year. Still not bad. It's not what it was last year. The Patriots, definitely not the Patriots they used to be, but as long as you got a Bill Belichick team, even as short-handed as they are, you cannot rule that team out week to week.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like the Bill Belichick coach team, as we keep getting reminded every year, never give up on them.
No.
Like, I know I committed the cardinal sin about, 3 seasons ago or so, when I thought this was going to be the beginning of the end for the Patriots empire. And after, who was it? Who would they lose to? Was it the Raiders or the
Kansas City where they were on Cincinnati the week after?
Yeah, the Chefs. Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't remember if they had lost to the Raiders or the Chefs. So it was the Chefs. Yeah, so they lost to the Chefs. And yeah, when I saw that, I figured, oh yeah, this confirms it. New England is over. The beginning of the end, downward spiral.
Yeah, because we're talking pre-Patrick Mahomes Chefs there.
That's exactly right.
Alex Smith was a decent quarterback, but they weren't the team they are now, and it wasn't just a win by the Chefs. It was a convincing thrashing, I think, on Sunday or Monday Night Football game.
And that was the thing, and it wasn't like the Patriots were a bad team. They were actually like heavily favored in that game.
But they looked bad, yeah.
Yeah, they looked brutal, absolutely brutal. They looked like the Bengals actually. Who?
I believe that week in the press conference, there's even questions whether Belichick was considered benching Brady.
Yeah, that's true. Because Brady.
Just as that sounds, that question actually came up that week.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, obviously, people have been, the vultures have been trying to bury the Patriots for so long, and every time they think they got them, Patriots. Just like a slasher movie villain, they're not dead yet.
Well, the way I see the Patriots this year is I certainly don't think they have the guts to win a championship. They just don't have enough. But being the Patriots, if they get into the playoffs, they are good enough to have that 1 week where they can knock off a definite contender.
Well, that's the thing. If the Patriots make it to the playoffs,
like they can't sustain it for weeks in a row against multiple championship contenders. But they can knock out one series contender.
I mean, if I went to the playoffs, there are two teams that if I'm in the playoffs, regardless of their record during the regular season, there are two teams that I do not ever want to play in the playoffs. One is the Patriots, the other is the Giants.
You know who else I made out there? It's like even the Seahawks.
Interesting. I hear they throw the ball on the 1 yard line though, instead of running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Seahawks with their defense can't win this year, but they're that team that any given week can knock off any given team, no matter how good they are.
Yeah, Seahawks this year are fun. Who needs defense?
Not them.
I think we were looking at this earlier, and I believe there's only like 3 teams in the whole league that have like worse points against than the Seahawks.
Yeah. Remember, and be their strong point.
That's the amazing thing. Like, it was like, what, 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago, that they were just the defensive beasts. They were, what was their nickname even? Didn't they have a nickname?
The Legion of Boom.
There you go. I knew that had something. Legion of Boom, yeah. So with Sherman and...
There's a guy who reviews game film on YouTube who broke down their historically bad defense this week, and he had an awesome nickname for them this year. The Legion of Room.
Oh, that's funny. That's pretty funny. The Legion of Room.
The Legion of Room.
Oh, well done.
Well
done. Well done. I am giving a pseudo golf clap. By the way, this week, minor interruption, our football talk. This week, some guy won the Masters Open. Do you care?
Oh, yeah, we forgot to talk about this before the show. Good old DJ there, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll deal with him at the end of the NFL here.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be topic 1.5, the Masters. Okay. So yeah, Seattle and their criminally bad defense. Yeah, of course, despite being so legendarily bad, still, the Dallas Cowboys are the league doormats in that regard. Like, it is amazing how, really, I don't know, 4 players have completely sunk that team that was expected to, be for sure a playoff team and even a possible contender.
Yes.
But, like, 4 guys, the way I see it. 1 Dak Prescott and 3 linemen.
Well, I'm going to throw a couple other things in here, too.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott, even before Prescott went down, they were losing. Now, a lot of that, like you said, the offensive line going down, so that was huge.
Yeah.
With the quarterbacks going down. The other things I'll throw into that, though, we're going with a whole new defensive system into the year. In a year where you didn't have much of a cap, probably didn't help. The lack of leadership in the locker room. And actually, you know what? That kind of segues into, we're going to talk about the New York Giants as well. The New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys, to me, are polar opposites. Because the Cowboys, even with people down, have talent. But even with that, they played a bit harder lately, it seems. But there was just a lack of effort, leadership, and accountability for weeks there. The Giants, the polar opposite. They lost talent. They lost Saquon Barkley for the year. But man, under Joe Judge, that team comes out and plays hard every single week.
Yep.
Those teams are like complete polar opposites of each other.
It is that, and that's the one thing that I've noticed every week. And despite whatever criticisms people like to have with the Gigantes there, every time I see them play, I see a team that's always trying. Like, they don't give up, and they fight for every single yard, every single second, every play for 60 full minutes, both on offense and defense. Like, you can just see the effort out there. The players, receivers, quarterback, everybody, they are all like trying to their last breath, basically, into their last bit of energy to try and win the game. And yeah, when you see the Cowboys, though, you don't see any of that. Like,
no.
Like, it's unbelievable. Like, I actually have like Ezekiel Elliott in my fantasy draft. And it's incredible. Ever since Dak went out, like he's a non-performer now. Like,
no, it looks like his idea of training went more at the dinner table these days.
Well, I think he's I think he's just packing it in because, like, because the O-line is so poor now, Everybody just boxes the line now. So the second he hits the line, all he's hitting is defensive players. Like there's no holes there. And plus teams realize that without Prescott, and even when Dalton was so unbelievably bad, the threat of a passing game just didn't exist.
So and the thing with Prescott is that the offensive line wasn't playing well, was hurt. So they've been running a bit better since moving Zach Martin to right guard and running behind him. Another thing too is just that early in the year, I don't think he's getting enough carries, even though they're putting up points, because a guy like him needs carries. But it seems like the little bit I see now with the backup back, Pollard, I think it is, he seems to be even running harder than Zeke.
He is. It's been quite incredible that he actually managed to, scratch for some yards, whereas Zeke is just like hit the line and fall. Like he almost seems like he's trying to like put out a fire, stop, drop, and roll. Like
that's a great description. Stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah. Every time I see Zeke hit now, it's like he gets stopped, he drops, and then he rolls.
Yeah. There's not much of a fight at the line.
No, there's no fighting. So yeah, like you're saying, he's fighting for the dinner table, I guess.
Because that was one of his things. He does have speed, but one of the things that benefited him a lot was his ability to power great tackles.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's no powering.
No.
So
There's
yeah.
no breaking anything.
No.
It's just him hitting a wall and the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, unbelievable. Couple of other teams that we're doing some focus on here. One are the Aints. Drew Brees punctured his own lung with his own rib.
Yes. Oh, man. So,
I can't even imagine how much that would have.
That's serious stuff there. You kind of wonder if he's back this year, if he is back this year, if he's not back this year. Like, I think he will be back this year from what they're saying, but, man, that's got to be extremely painful.
Well, just
I don't know how many more years he has. He's played well this year, despite some people questioning his arm strength. But, an injury like that at this point in his career, you don't know how many more games there are left in his career. It's going to be interesting to see famous Jameis Winston getting his shot.
Oh, I love the idea. He's he's Mr. Electricity.
He is.
He's
Are they going to start eating W's, or are they going to start eating L's?
Oh, it's time to eat some W's.
Yeah.
You
we'll see if Forky under Sean Payton helps with development.
Want to eat those W's.
It's going to be a lot better than being under Bruce Arians.
Yeah, I don't think it. Well, I don't think it can be worse. I like my dislike for Arians. I think he's shown that he's not much of a coach. There's a lot of. I think there's a lot more sizzle than actual steak.
Yeah, I begin to agree with that too. I really liked him. Like I said, he didn't be the one-year teaching coach, and I liked him at first in Arizona. But even late in his Arizona run, he started wearing thin on me. Yeah.
So that will be interesting to see how Jamie's does playing against, like a legitimately good coaching staff.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's going to be fun, and he gets the Falcons to.
Oh, well, that should be fun.
Yeah, it's a kind of a nice gift, to be welcomed back into the league with.
You get the Falcons defense. Welcome back.
Yeah, like they're just a nice, pillowy, soft, cushiony defense. Like it's nice.
Yeah, let's see if you can overcome his tendency to throw picks.
That will be a very interesting watch. That's going to be on everybody's mind.
It will be, yeah.
Yeah, so that should be fun. And last team that we're going to focus on are actually your Oakland Raiders.
Oh, you mean my Las Vegas, formerly Oakland, formerly Los Angeles,
right.
Formerly Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, they're supposed to be playing in Las Vegas, right?
Yeah, Las Vegas is the home game this week in Vegas. No fans yet.
Yeah, they're playing inside the Death Star, even though there's nobody in it.
No, I think they've actually got a better road record, too.
in this year where there are no fans, road home, like,
It doesn't matter.
it seems so weird.
But there are teams with discrepancies between home and road.
It is the craziest thing because, when there's fans, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Road and home, there's advantages. But this year, it's so weird that when you see a team on the road, you figure, well, what advantage is there anymore?
I kind of wonder what the deal is with the teams that can't win on the road. They're doing okay at home.
Yeah.
But what is it? Oh, man, I got to get on a plane. Like, what's the deal?
Well, I'm sure some of them, too, even though the players, always say, oh, no, it doesn't bother us. I'm pretty sure that for some players, just hearing the fans constantly, heckling them, insulting them, getting under their, I'm sure it gets under the skin of some players and actually throws them off their game. Like there'll be some that are just unshakable and you can't do anything to. But there's others that you can legitimately just completely, destroy their minds.
Yeah, there's some here ones you bribe off it too.
Yeah, exactly. There are those. But yeah, I have no doubt that there are some, especially some players whose confidence is kind of like, on a bit of an edge. That, yeah, you got some half-wit in the fans just giving you the gears. That's probably going to push you right over that edge.
Yeah.
And that fan is usually me.
I can actually attest to that.
So, yeah, with your Raiders, COVID is bringing them down to their knees even before the chefs get to do it.
Yeah, Farrell, the defensive end there, he has contracted COVID, and I believe 7 defensive teammates are on the COVID reserve list just because of close contact. So I think they have to continue to test negative to play, and I don't even know if the Raiders can practice now until they play Sunday. As if that's not enough, it's the chefs in a revenge spot, and not just any revenge spot against the division rival. Because apparently after the Raiders won at Arrowhead early this year, John Gruden decided to take the bus on a victory lap around Arrowhead Stadium before hitting the airport.
Yikes.
Reportedly blaming it on a smart aleck bus driver, so that's why they did it.
Oh, those smart aleck bus drivers.
Oh, yeah. No kidding. So Andy Reid has apparently said, well, they deserve the right to do that, but that's not something we would do. And between that and COVID on the Raiders defense, that does not sound like a good recipe going into Sunday's game.
Do I hear running up the score?
I wouldn't be surprised. It doesn't take much for the Chefs to run the score, but it might actually be intentional this week.
Yeah, it's like, fourth quarter, 3 minutes to go. Yeah, I think we can execute a 2-minute offense and get another touchdown.
The last time I seen Patrick Mahomes with like a Tom Brady chip on his shoulder, I didn't even realize it until game time. It was last year. The Chiefs were playing the Bears, and after yet another touchdown pass, as the Chefs were laying to the Bears. But if you remember, the year Mahomes went, I think, 14 for 17 or whatever, Kansas City traded up to get him. That was the year the Bears traded up to second to get Trubisky in the same draft. And I believe Mahomes came off the field after one of the touchdowns and started counting all the teams that bypassed him in the draft on his and that was just a beatdown. So I'm thinking that chip is going to be on Mahomes' shoulders Sunday after the Raiders' joyous bus ride. So, I'm being a Raiders fan, I'm not optimistic about this game against the Chiefs Sunday.
Oh my, this could be a paddling.
Oh, this kid one, yeah. Good.
All right, and and that is basically our look at the NFL. Before we leave, I thought I'd mention a interesting little stat that I happen to have noticed. The top 3 teams with the longest winning streaks right now, here's something to food for thought. The three longest winning streaks are number 1, Pittsburgh with 9 wins in a row.
Yes, unbeaten.
2, New Orleans, 6 in a row. 3, Miami, 5 in a row.
Yes, the Dolphins. I remember the Dolphins are 5 in a row. I forgot the Saints were up to 6.
Cha-ching. There you go. Team sneaking into your television set.
They are. Yeah, the Dolphins might come to fruition yet.
My goodness.
I think they'll win the AFC East.
And all on the backs of Tua!
Well, actually, I called it on the backs of the defense of Fitzmagic, but Tua seems to be replacing Fitzmagic.
Good times. Oh, we'll be seeing more of the Dolphins in the near future. But that is our look at the NFL. Next topic, as we briefly interrupted our NFLism with the Masters. And you have some thoughts on our brand new champion.
Well, nice to see him win it anyways. I didn't have a lot of takeaways. He seemed like he kind of rolled through it. And was that DeChambeau, the science muscle guy there, he really struggled.
Yep.
And what started talking about how he's busy and stuff like that. Glad to see DJ win. I don't know about DeChambeau. His whole sickness thing, maybe it's legit, but when I hear stuff like that, I start wondering if it's just excuses and that.
Well, it's kind of fun.
This is Johnson's first Masters win, isn't it?
Yes, I do believe it is. Yes.
Yeah, that's good, because, I mean, there could be, we're 5-6 months away from the next one if everything stays on schedule.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he was out for a while at one point. I don't think he picked up a golf club for a few weeks at one point in time. Illness or something.
Yep.
Came back, finished second at his tournament, and now it's won the Masters. So I can see him still rolling 5 months down the line, and with the pressure of actually having one green jacket behind him now and like shaking, not winning the Masters, I really like his chances, even though it's a ways away of just repeating it. He keeps this up.
Yeah, that is because of the rescheduling because of the whole COVID thing. He will have a potentially unique advantage of having momentum follow him, since the next Masters will be like just a few months away, whereas normally you'd have to wait a full year. Yeah, so good point. Because of the whole momentum, it could power himself to back-to-back Masters, and that would be interesting and fun.
That would be, I'm also going to say, even though he gave us hope a couple of years ago, and that I think just through injuries and age, Tiger's best days are behind him. I don't see another comeback.
Yeah, I was even thoroughly shocked when he won another major, last year or the year before. I don't recall.
I think he won. I think wasn't it the Masters?
Yeah, it was the Masters, and I think it was last year actually.
I think it was.
Yeah.
And I thought that might be another run where he played, not old Tiger tennis golf for like a year or two.
Yep.
But I thought he would be maybe a top 10 player for a year or two.
Right.
He'd have some of those off brutal days because of back injuries, but at times he would be competitive and just pull out some minor championships and maybe one more major of some kind, just off gallon experience.
Right.
The more I see, the more I think that Masters Championship last year is the last hurrah. And I think he's pretty much done.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think there's been too much inconsistency and poor play for too many years in a row to suddenly expect the old Tiger to be back.
Yeah, I agree. So, good for DJ there, and we'll see in a few months.
All right.
Masters holds.
And that is our first ever look at the wonderful world of golf.
Yes, it is.
Grr. Next, we're going to be looking at the National Basketball Association. The season is over. The Lakers are the winners. Everybody who's a Lakers fan is happy. Every other team is filled with fury and rage.
You also have the division of the pro and anti-LeBron, right? So pro LeBron happy you won again last year, anti-LeBron just losing their minds again.
That is very true. Yeah, it's like in baseball with Boston fans. They only cheer for two teams, the Red Sox and anyone playing the Yankees. So yeah, there's definitely the anti-LeBron sentiment is strong in the NBA.
Yes, it is.
But all these teams got a chance yesterday with the draft to unseat LeBron from his kingdom. And of course, the big story was basically another Ball brother was ready to join the NBA.
Yes.
And the question was, well, who was going to take him? He was ranked number 3 going into the draft, but there were all kinds of people.
Some people had him as 1. He was anywhere between 1 and 1 and 2 were the common ones. A lot of people didn't think Golden State would take him at 2.
Right. And and there was a lot of thought of, would, either the Timberwolves take him at 1 since they had the number 1 pick, or would they trade that pick away and somebody else would come and swoop him in at number 1? So yeah, that was a bit of interest, but in the end, the Timberwolves took shooting guard Anthony Edwards out of Georgia.
He was quite the scorer, apparently.
Yeah, so he's basically just a good all-around athlete with good offense and kind of like just an overall good player with just multiple skills. So that doesn't sound like for this draft anyway that there were any like obvious franchise players or anything like that.
No, it sounded like it was more deep with less franchise players at the top.
Yeah, like it was a bunch of like, good, solid NBAers with a few players, like some good defensive specialist guys, like more defense oriented guys, and a few, and a small handful of players that could surprise and become like all-stars. But yeah, it seemed more of just regular good solid basketballer, but no actual like elite level franchise guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Timberwolves, they skipped on LaMelo. They took Anthony Edwards, who sounds like actually a pretty nice pickup for a team with Anthony Towns and trying to build up a nice core of just good players, basically.
Yeah, and it could be really good for them, because I think Ball's a good playmaker, which would have been good with they have Russell there and they have Towns. But usually with their playmaker, he's also ball dominant. I think Russell likes to handle the ball more. So a kid like Edwards can score, but he doesn't have to have the ball in his hands all the time. So probably a better fit in Minnesota with Russell and Towns there.
Yeah,
I can score, but doesn't need the ball in his hands all the time.
Yeah, just more of I think a more team harmony, team-based game.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, is always way more important than having the one super dominant guy. Golden State, as you suspected, ran away from the Ball family, and they took center James Wiseman.
Yeah, he sounds pretty promising. Couple things this year. I don't know how much impact rookies will make this year with the shorter camp after the draft or shorter turnaround. Wiseman sounds like he has a lot of potential, but be kind of a developmental guy who could fit in there eventually. Probably play a bit this year, I'm sure. Maybe he does start. But considering what Golden State was expecting, because before Klay Thompson's re-injury of his Achilles, I think they were expecting the Splash Brothers and Wiggins, that's kind of and Draymond Green, and then this kid really could have just eased into the lineup with that big 4 there. Well, Green's really above Wiggins as the third guy,
right?
And I still don't think there'll be as much pressure on him because they're not. I would think they're not really expecting to win a championship now. Thompson gone, but his role would have not been huge considering all the other guys they had.
Right.
They would have just needed to do what he does well and kind of rotate with whoever else. Still a good move for them and still a good move for him, but yeah, the Klay Thompson injury certainly changes things there.
Yep, definitely did. That's such a huge loss for Golden State because, yeah, they basically took it on the chin last year, going from hero to zero.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the year where they figured, okay, well, all of our stars are going to be recovered. We're going to have a nice high draft pick, ready to go on another run. Boy, oh boy.
Picked up Wiggins last year, too.
Yep.
Like, Wiggins is no alpha, but if he's your fourth guy, you're in good shape.
No, that's exactly right. And good move for him, too, because, I mean, he was like the main guy in Minnesota for so many years. And despite his talent, it just wasn't working.
No.
So, I mean, yeah, taken off to Golden State where he can be behind a championship team already and he can just, doesn't have to be the main guy anymore. He can just slide on further down to the lineup and just play his game.
Yeah.
I think he's probably one of those guys where this will be good for him.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like that alpha dog read the team type.
Well, he's a nice Canadian. So.
Excuse me. But as your third or fourth guy, yeah, great option.
Yeah, I mean, he's a nice Canadian. That's what you expect, right? It's a nice guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a friendly guy. Yeah, it's courteous.
Good supportive, talented player.
And then speaking of talent, like as we had mentioned, the one guy that everybody was like all talking and going crazy over is good old LaMelo Ball.
Ah, yes.
And our boy Miguel Jordan.
Miguel Jordan. Everyone wants to be like Miguel.
Everybody wants. I want to be like Miguel.
Yeah, I want to be like Miguel.
I buy his shoes every year.
Well, Miguel still wants to be like Miguel, but
yeah. I keep wanting them to make me jump higher because if I could be like.
Can you jump higher?
I feel like I can jump higher in them.
Well, that's faith in you, man.
Yeah. And so, yeah, Miguel Jordan's Charlotte Hornets said, yes, we are taking LaMelo Ball. What do you think of that move?
Well, they need the best, most talented player they can get on that team, so if it's there, it's going to be an interesting dynamic between Jordan and, Lon? What's his dad's name again? LeVar Ball, right?
LeVar Ball, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting dynamic. Remember a few years ago when LeVar was saying he could beat Jordan one-on-one?
Oh yeah. Hey, yeah, good old. I think Miguel may take him up on that now.
Oh man, I would love to see that. I would just love to see that epic beatdown. Just epic beatdown.
Sounds like a pay-per-view made for these COVID times.
Even though he's been retired for years, Jordan, I'm sure, still has that competitive spirit that we've seen in The Last Dance.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, to me, LeVar Ball's the type of guy who could get whipped and he'd still shoot off his mouth with excuses. But Jordan would just beat him so bad that even LeVar Ball would have to shut up.
Are you saying LeVar Ball is the Eddie Kingston of the NBA?
Pretty much. Actually, it's funny you said that because Eddie Kingston ran through my mind as I was jumping out of my house.
A heel that generates so little heat that you absolutely hate him for it. Why are you still here? Oh, I'm a heel. I'm a bad guy. I don't care.
Yeah, neither do I.
You annoy me.
I know those are like heels are supposed to annoy you, but I don't know. I want to be annoyed by the heel actions, not by the fact that you're in a spot you don't really deserve.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, the comparisons to LeVar Ball for me are exact because both Eddie Kingston and LeVar Ball, when I started hearing them talk, like, I just want to change the channel. Like, I don't want to listen to them anymore.
No, like I've heard Kingston do a couple great promos, but there's stuff where it just gets on my nerves. I think Eddie Kingston would be a great Nick Carter, but I'm annoyed why I keep seeing him in the main event picture. Yeah, and
so I mean, and that's the thing. Like his mouth is right, and checks his body can't cash. Like it's and for me, when I was hearing yesterday, even though the LaMelo Ball and everybody's talking about and everybody's praising, the Charlotte Hornets. Oh, what a great pick! And I've been reading some draft reviews, and players are saying, "Oh, the Hornets obviously won." For me, the Hornets lost yesterday's draft, like in spades. Like they made.
Well, it looked like there was other good players to be had. He looked like kind of the consensus free pick, but it looks like there were some other good players out there that could have been had. Really.
Well, for me, as far as I'm concerned, the Charlotte Hornets, they should get like an F- for drafting.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's strong.
For drafting LaMelo Ball.
That is a strong way to say how weak you thought their draft was.
It's incredibly weak because, like, here's a team that has been moribund forever now.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the last time the Charlotte Hornets were anything interesting is when Grandmama played for them.
Yeah.
And that's like 20-some years ago.
Well, the last time they were interesting was actually when the franchise that moved to New Orleans was still in Charlotte. It wasn't even the same Charlotte team.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, when they had that awesome, Hornets logo there, the crazy, like, angry bumblebee or whatever, angry hornet there. That was, I love that logo, by the way.
Yeah. That was great.
But, I mean, back then, when they had Grandmama there.
Well, they had Grandmama and Alonzo Mourning together for a while.
Exactly. So, I mean, that team was actually interesting and fun to watch. And ever since then, we're talking 2 decades now, they have been doormats. Like, absolute doormats.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they went to New Orleans for a while there, and then they came back. Like,
well, no, they went to New Orleans, and then they gave Charlotte a team to replace them. Yeah.
So, but I mean, the problem that I have with them drafting LaMelo Ball is that with LaMelo Ball comes LeVar Ball.
Yeah.
And that is just something I do not want on my team.
Well, it's funny because the old Hornets, who are now New Orleans Pelicans.
Yep.
They have the other Ball kid, and he's even kind of broken ties with that over the last year or two.
Well, it's the thing. Like he had to because his father, like, I don't know, like, I mean, he's his father, and and you have to assume that he's trying to do good for his children and whatnot.
I used to think that. I even question that now.
That's a goofy thing. Like, I know, like, he was so caught up in the whole celebrity of being, Lonzo Ball's father that, he went crazy. And, when they created the whole Big Baller brand, which is such an epic fail, and when I still remember when someone asked him, hey, how did you come up with the price of $400 for a pair of shoes? And LeVar said, I just figured people would pay $400 for a pair of shoes. Like, that's your marketing research?
I always wondered how he came to that. And did those same shoes blow up on his son on the court?
Well, he never wore them.
Okay, he never wore them. Well, no, I'm thinking of Zion Williamson blowing out his shoe at Duke or whatever.
Yeah, Zion blew up a pair of Nikes, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they just exploded off his foot. With Lonzo, that was the problem, is even though, his family founded the Big Baller brand, Lonzo himself would not wear a Big Baller brand shoe on the court.
And you get, what an absolute lack of vote of confidence.
Yeah, like that. Like when that got pointed out, that pretty much was the end of that shoe company.
It was.
But I mean, then you have like LeVar Ball, who was like, constantly trying to meddle in his son's career, and he'd be like criticizing for the Lakers for, not playing him enough, and he's their biggest star, and he should get more playing time, and they need to get better players for him, blah, blah, blah. Like,
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Michael Jordan deals with that crap.
and that's the thing. Like, for me, you know, the Lakers, when they traded him away, like, no fault to Alonzo, because I don't think, I never heard anything bad about him personally or anything.
No, it sounds like he's a model citizen. It was all his dad.
Yeah, so that's the problem is when you get one ball, you're going to get the father. And the Lakers showed that they got rid of him, they got rid of that whole distraction, they go out and they win the championship.
And who was it who came out with it? Patrick Beverly or some other guy came out in Lonzo's first year, and he's saying that Lonzo's actually going to have a hard time in the league. He's going to be paying for the sins of the father because of, LeVar's mouth there. People are going to come after Lonzo extra hard because of LeVar shooting his mouth off.
Yeah, and that's exactly what's happened, and that's why for me, like if I owned an NBA franchise, like I don't care what draft pick I have, like I would tell my scout, I would tell basically my GM, LaMelo Ball is off the table. You will not. I don't care how good this guy is supposed to be. Any Ball brother is off our table forever. Like we will never have a Ball, somebody from the Ball family on our team ever.
No, I'm step for step for you. The exception might be if like Lonzo was available for me just because he broke ties with his dad.
I just wouldn't trust it. It's like because even though Lonzo may want to break ties, it doesn't prevent his father from still shooting his mouth off in the media and going on social media and everything and walking up to some random reporter for that team and start talking nonsense. So that's
there's truth to that, but I even wonder if like Lonzo even drawn the line, like kind of like if you go there, like I'm gonna have nothing to do with you.
Yeah, it's always possible. For me,
and I usually would think that, but the only reason I've actually even thought that at all, and it might not even be a possibility, but the only reason it's come to mind for me is because LeVar's actually been well behaved when it comes to Lonzo in New Orleans and hasn't been doing that stuff since Lonzo broke ties.
If it's worked out, then kudos to them. Me as a NBA franchise owner, I would not take that chance.
No, I don't blame you. So I might take a chance on Lonzo. None of the others are, because I don't know if there's more coming down the pike. But at the same time, I certainly wouldn't argue if you stand silently when it goes on. I can completely see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I predict nothing but pain and disharmony for the Charlotte Hornets.
I agree with you there.
But yeah, so that's that's a quick look at some of the NBA draft. Like I say, a lot of defensive players out there taken.
Which is kind of funny because it's spelled also into a section about Eddie Kingston within the conversation too.
Yeah. It's amazing when you have people with large mouths. Somehow they get lumped together. Speaking of large mouths, this one is pretty juicy. That's come up recently. Westbrook and Harden. Suddenly they both want out of Houston.
Yes. I think for different reasons, too. Westbrook, I think, wants to go somewhere and just be the man again. To me, the only place that really makes sense is the Knicks. Because, they have RJ Barrett and a couple other good young players. But, Westbrook can go hog the ball there and do whatever he does. But a couple things with him is, I believe he's 32 now, which isn't that old, but he's probably an older 32 when you consider he does play the game extremely hard. He's got a ridiculously high contract, and on top of that, doesn't really shoot threes well and shoot well from the line. And I wouldn't want him on a contender because he just messes up the chemistry of any other good players you have. And if you're a contender, you already have star players. He wouldn't fit in.
Right.
And as for Harden, I've heard rumors of, and these are just rumors of maybe him going to Brooklyn. But really, even though he played with Kevin Durant early in his career, he's known as a guy when he's not controlling the ball, he doesn't really run around and do stuff. He just kind of relaxes. So what's he going to be when he's sharing the ball with like Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving?
Yeah, and I mean, Kyrie has already shown that he's not the greatest team player either.
Well, no, the Celtics played better when he's out of the lineup.
Yeah. The thing that I find so very bizarre on this story is that the reason that both of them want out is because they weren't consulted on who the Rockets were hired as their new coach.
Yeah, well, you get quite a bit of that, I believe. Because where did Steve Nash get hired again?
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, right?
Brooklyn, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's consulted, but I know Durant and Irving were both good with it. I mean, that is one thing with them. I don't agree with this, but with the superstars in the NBA and the way they are, that is kind of part and parcel of the deal. Just the consulting with them to the head coach now. Like I said, don't agree with that, but that is the way of life in the NBA. And you see when a superstar like that doesn't approve his coach, like LeBron getting David last fired in Cleveland, like it's not going to work out. Having said that, I think either one of these guys would still want to know because they both wanted. Harden says he wants to be a contender, but I think he wants to still try to be a contender, be the man.
Right.
And Westbrook just wants to be the man.
Well, yeah, with that kind of assessment, yeah, definitely the Knicks are a great place to go for either guy in that regard.
Yeah. Well, no, because Harden still wants to contend.
Yeah, the contending thing, that's not going to happen, but being the man definitely is.
Yeah, no. For Harden, he says he wants to contend too. For Westbrook, the Knicks have worked.
The thing that I find amusing is that both these guys, you know, their leverage is like limited, given that they both, I think, have like another like 2 years or so left on their contract, at least 2 or 3 years actually each. So it's one of these where it's kind of like, oh, you have to trade me or else I won't play for you. It's like, okay, enjoy being home for the next 3 years.
Yeah, it's one thing about the NBA. They just don't have the backbone to do that. I would have no problem with it. Like, I'm not going to play for you. You're not going to play for anyone.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're going to stay home then. It's like, yeah, because that whole thing, when I heard that, you know, it's like they're angry because they weren't consulted on the coach. It's like, man, I would hear, as soon as I heard that, man, I would be looking to ship them out as fast as possible.
I would too. Like I said, I don't agree with the NBA stance on that, but unfortunately, the stupid thing is the NBA teams have a lot of precedent to be set, but it just gives the players too much power.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like when a player can dictate who the coach is going to be, it's like, yeah, you're the player. We'll take care of the coaching part.
You have players dictating your coaches will be players. You have players dictating trades, like in Kawhi and how he got the Clippers last year.
Yeah, that worked.
Whatever you can to get Paul George.
Yeah, and that worked out real well, didn't it?
It didn't ever.
Right, because that worked out so well that the Oklahoma Thunder now they have problems trying to figure out what to do with all these draft picks they have.
I think they even traded one or two of them away because how many do you have?
Well, they have 27 over the next 6 years.
And you only have, what, a 14-man roster?
Yeah. Exactly. They can literally draft 2 full teams with all the draft picks they have.
Man, that's going to be a hell of a deep team in 5 years.
They have so many, they don't know what to do with them. So, yeah, it's... Yeah, Clippers. Yeah, that was a good idea. Yeah, you trade away all these draft picks, get these guys together, and you last basically as long as only slightly longer than the Thunder did.
Well, let's put this in this perspective too. Don't forget, both Kawhi and Paul George can opt out after next year.
Yeah.
So let's say if they opt out early, or even if they stick around, they don't win a championship or anything, right? In theory, the LA Clippers could be the next they're Brooklyn now, but could be what the New Jersey Nets were when they traded all those draft picks for Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce years ago.
Yep.
Remember how much of a mess they were for years before they were finally able to pull together a bit.
Oh yeah, the Brooklyn Nets, they were brutal.
Yeah, they had no draft picks.
Because they had no draft picks. They had nothing. It was years.
Because Pierce and Garnett did not last long there.
No,
before they fell off the cliff.
No, they were both at the end of their careers.
Mm-hmm.
They're totally at the end of their careers. So yeah, that was an epic fail. And yeah, the Clippers move this year was a face plant. And if next year it doesn't work out and both those guys leave, what a disastrous trade that turns out to be.
Yes, it does.
So you got to wonder if moves like that, falling that hard, working out that badly, if that's going to cause teams to suddenly question making moves like that in the future.
Oh, yeah.
If that's the sort of thing that's going to reduce the player's power.
Oh, yeah. A few more downfalls like that. Because I know the thing is, Kawhi wants to play in LA, so maybe he sticks with the Clippers. But who's to say he doesn't opt out after next year and decide he wants to just jump across the Lakers and play with LeBron for a year or two?
Yeah, exactly right.
So, I mean, there's no telling that for sure. I mentioned this last year, I'm not entirely sold on what Brooklyn did to go and get Durant and Irving.
No, well, I mean, I thought they were actually terrible moves. Because Kyrie...
They had a pretty good young balanced team. I mean, they weren't going to win a championship with the type of team they had, but they're building, and maybe they were like a free agent or two away, but those guys, for me, Durant being gone the year, I think he'll come back strong, but you always worry after an injury like that, but I think he'll come back strong. But man, I am no fan of Kyrie Irving.
Well, I mean, Kyrie Irving got to prove his worth in Boston.
Yeah.
And he proved his worth in Boston.
Look what he's done in Cleveland with LeBron as well. That wasn't much either.
Exactly. So, I mean, Kyrie Irving has already shown that he is not a team player and he is not, a good teammate. And, yeah, cupcake there. I mean, he's coming... he's coming off a major injury.
Mm-hmm.
And to put your eggs in that basket, man, that is, risky. So I don't think neither of those moves are going to work out for them.
The other thing you're dealing with too with Irving is there's a guy who does not stay healthy and on the court either.
Yeah, that's the other issue. Yeah. Yeah, when he plays with a bad attitude, and when he doesn't play with a bad attitude, it's because he can't play because he's injured.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh. Well, should be fun. The association will be starting in time for Christmas, so only a month away.
Yeah. So it'll be nice to see. I don't know how long your schedule will be, but it'll be nice to see the sporting season. I was glad to see basketball and hockey back when they came back, but man, it just seemed like the year was out of whack. Seeing championships in August and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It just when I heard this week would have been the week of the Grey Cup that the CFL was I didn't even realize it because everything just seems so out of whack this year.
Yeah.
The Masters just finishing, the bubble playoffs in a couple sports. Like, yeah.
Well, and that's
It's just, yeah, it seems completely odd.
yeah, that's the thing. Like in North America, for North American sports, like, you know, like right now in November, yeah, we'd be having, you know, all these sports going, like hockey, basketball, NFL, CFL, like, you know, these leagues like MLS would all be like, you know, heavy into their seasons. Um, and you know, CFL, Grey Cup, MLS playoffs. But man, this year, yeah, it's like no NBA, no NHL, no CFL. Ick. So yeah, it'll be nice that the association said that they're going to restart play on Christmas week. So
Excellent.
yep. So your traditional Christmas Day quadruple of basketball games will still be happening this year.
Yeah, and generally don't watch them. Usually have their family dinner and stuff like that. And not as much NBA as I am an NFL guy, but this year with self-isolation, I'm confident still going at Christmas. It will be an NBA-inspired day for me.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
I'm thinking it should be, I'm thinking of some NBA action plus a couple of Christmas classics. You know, like maybe Die Hard and Lethal Weapon.
Well, of course. Those good, solid Christmas movies.
Oh, yeah. Christmas classics.
Die Hard, greatest Christmas movie of all time.
I would agree, yeah.
Yep.
And then even though I don't think Lethal Weapon came out at Christmas time, it's set around Christmas time.
Yes, it is. That's right. Yeah, fun movies. Super fun.
Yeah. Christmas spirit all around.
And speaking of spirit, that takes us to our last segment, which is always the epic and suck. That's always spirited.
We actually had some like strong contenders here tonight, actually, too.
Yes, indeed. So as always, the epic and suck, the one moment we each thought was epic over the last week or so, and the moment we thought sucked. So, Buddy, take it away.
For me, most weeks the DeAndre Hopkins Hail Murray catch would have been the epic like of the week. But this week, it is former WWE, as they call him, superstar or wrestler, or I'm not even going to acknowledge the term sports entertainer, Zelina Vega getting fired. Now, for her, like, obviously a bad thing to get fired, but it's the way she got fired, which is my epic like. So back in September, the WWE decided to ban third-party platforms for their employees. Now, I can understand banning third-party income if they're using their wrestling persona and wrestling name to benefit, because those are WWE creations. But in a lot of these cases, through Twitch and other, I don't know if YouTube will flag a third-party deal or not, but through these third-party income streams for these wrestlers, they use their own name. There might be like video games or other stuff or whatever they're doing. I believe she's doing a cosplay one as well. So, you know, it is independent of their WWE career. So, this should be no shade to the WWE no matter what, telling you can't make a living doing this. And number two, especially egregious, considering allegedly, and as we all know, it's a joke if you follow it, for anyone who's followed this over the years, that WWE performers are allegedly and legally considered independent contractors.
Independent.
So if you're an independent contractor, that means you should be allowed to take on other employment because you are not technically employed for that company.
Because you're independent?
Independent. WWE for decades absolutely abused this, among other rights and health and well-being for wrestlers and performers. So when Zelina Vega, instead of like giving up her third-party platform, I believe she doubled down and maybe even started another one. The other ironic thing is, so one, she stood up for her rights, good for her, and two, I believe she was making more off her third-party platform, whether it was on Twitch or whatever, And she actually had been offered WWE contracts in the pandemic since there wasn't like gate revenues and that. So for her, that is my epic life. Her standing up for rights when so many WWE wrestlers won't. Yeah, this is, and which leads to my epic suck, which is Vince McMahon and the WWE and the constant violation of employees' rights and well-being over the years, and how they keep getting away with it. Yeah, so this third-party thing, just another thing over the years, and yeah, it just doesn't end with this company, man. They just keep taking, and it almost seems like a control and domination thing.
Cool.
That's my guess. If you don't have the third-party income, then they can have more control of you. So, yeah, that is also my epic stuff.
Like it. I like it. That's a strong epic and suck of the week. Power of two on one topic. Beautiful.
Yes.
For me, my epic suck of the week is once again, we've already talked about this person, but once again, Eddie Kingston.
I didn't know this would be your epic suck, but I'm not shocked.
Yeah, it just, I cannot express how much this bum annoys me. And the fact that here is somebody that wrestles, that is supposedly an 18-year, experienced professional wrestler, and yet when I've seen him in the ring, he wrestles about as well as I would. And I have exactly one wrestling match to my credit.
It was a classic.
It was a classic hardcore Winnipeg Street Stadium battle, but I have one. I have one match.
And we actually got a great pop in that match. We started inside Winnipeg Stadium. I believe we worked at the seats as we're on our way out to the stadium.
Yep.
All the way through the concession area. I believe down the ramp, because we weren't on the first level, if I remember correctly. Or down the stairs to the concession area, whichever one it was. Through the entire concession area. Had people cheering us. Had security come to break it up because they thought it was a real fight until a bunch of people we didn't even know were cheering for us told us no, it was just actually a fake match and kept cheering us on. They carried us all the way to the parking lot to our respective vehicles that we were getting into.
Yeah, well, they realized that this is a hardcore title match and not to be interfered by refs. There's no disqualification in a hardcore match, so there's no need for refs.
And we did have a lot of impromptu fans cheering us that we didn't even know.
So there you go. So we have had, one collective match, and Kingston, over an 18-year career, if you assume that he's wrestled, at least 200 times a year, so he's had about 30, over 3,000 matches.
Yeah, over 3,600, we'll say, yeah.
Yep. And I'm pretty confident from what I've seen of this, bum in the ring, that, yeah, I put on just as good a show as he does. And again, I don't know why he's constantly on AEW and he's constantly in the main event picture and constantly on the mic. Like, this guy annoys me, and when he talks, he's just, it's like I just want to change another channel or fast forward if I'm watching the recorded show. And his interference with the two luchadors there, Pentagon and Phoenix, meddling in their lives, and now he's got them fighting each other. And then that fight that they had a couple of weeks ago where they're tearing each other's masks off, that was the worst thing that AEW has done so far. That was just such an epic fail on all levels as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, when you're done, I've got a couple of complaints I'm going to talk to about this as well. Yeah,
so I mean, just everything. I don't know why Kingston is there. I don't know who he owes favors to. Who's in AEW executive, who's got this guy's back, but obviously somebody does, because this guy should be in the independents, and he should be low independents. There are guys, wrestlers wrestling here in Winnipeg in the local independent scenes that we have personally watched live who are, 20, 30 times better than Eddie Kingston is. And it annoys me that, like, actual really good local talented wrestlers like that, are still, here fighting, for their spot in the independent leagues. And meanwhile, this no-talent clown is somehow in what is essentially the second best wrestling league in the world.
Yeah, my pet peeve, I don't get him as much as you do, but yeah, I dislike the guy. I think he'd be all right mid-card because he's getting up on the mic for that. But his heat is more of an annoying heat that I know the heel's supposed to annoy you, but there's something about him I don't even really want to hear the promo sometimes. When he's really on, there's been a couple I've really liked.
Mm-hmm.
One, considering all the talent in AEW, I'm angry when I see this guy in main event status.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, that's far too high. One of those pet peeves, you're talking about that match with Pentagon and Ray Phoenix where he was doing commentary. And those guys are phenomenal performers. Phenomenal performers. And I know when the thing is supposed to be to draw heat on them, but I was very angry. When I see Pentagon and Ray Phoenix, two special athletes like that, and these guys are great performers and great athletes and great wrestlers, and they're putting on a match, and the purpose is to put over Eddie Kingston instead of them. That straight up pisses me off.
Yeah, that was pretty weak overall. It makes you wonder. Somebody's got Kingston's back. Somebody is, championing him, and I don't know who it is, and I don't know why.
No, not you are.
Yeah, so that's my
He's already had 2 world title shots, and I don't think anyone else in the company has.
Well, I don't think neither Pentagon or Phoenix has had a world title shot.
Nope.
So there you go. Look no further.
Maybe it's getting his first. Hangman's had 1.
Yeah. So. So there you go. So yeah, a lot of talent being overpassed. So that's my suck of the week in many weeks now. My epic of the week is brand new Canadian soccer team in the Canadian Premier League, which only started in 2019. So the league officially has 1 full season under its belt, and then they had a tournament this summer in Prince Edward Island called the Island Games. So the Canadian Premier League, obviously a super young league, but they did get 1 qualifying spot for the CONCACAF Champions League. And in this year, it was Hamilton's Forge FC that got that qualifying spot for to go into the Champions League. And being, a first-year team, amazingly, they're playing in the qualifying rounds to even get into the actual group stage. And they had to play 2 games on the road, one in El Salvador and another in Panama. And because of COVID restrictions, they're limiting all of these to single knockout games. So Hamilton, first-year team, had to go into both El Salvador and Panama to play against teams that have been around for decades and actually even a century in one case. And they won in both away games. That is an absolutely amazing accomplishment. First-year team, first year ever in the CONCACAF, playing on the road under all these crazy conditions, single game knockout, and they went and eliminated 2 teams already, and they're on to the next round and on their way to being a full-fledged member of the CONCACAF group stage.
Very impressive. Well done by them.
Yeah, huge kudos, huge accomplishment. Well done, Hamilton. You are carrying the flag of Canada out there in the tournament. Go Forge. And as soon as the CPL season starts up again, I will say, boo, Forge. But for now, they are my epic. And with that is our show.
Fantastic.
Buddy, thanks again for another great episode.
Been a pleasure again, Ryan.
And thank you all for listening. Remember to like our channel and to like our show, and remember to subscribe to our channel. That's the Body and Mind Podcast. So thank you once again for listening to another episode of the Body and Mind Podcast.